As fires rage across California, the U.S.
California's national forests are now temporarily closed because of the high fire danger.
California National Forest will be closed as of today.
This is breaking news now. Every national forest in California right now closing due to the fires burning in our state.
We move on now to the devastation in the west. The Dixie Fire in Northern California raging right into the record books. The state's third largest wildfire in history now, with little signs of slowing down.
All right, guys, so here's the deal. The state of California just closed all the national forest land in the state due to extreme drought and wildfires. This weekend's Labor Day weekend coming up, and I thought I was going to be able to go out and take the family out on an adventure, but with the national parks being basically the only thing open and Labor Day weekend, I figured that's probably not a great combination. So instead, I'm going to take this opportunity and review the latest overland purchase that I got, the Bluetti AC50s portable battery pack. Now, if you haven't seen my most recent trip, I'll put the link up here on the top of the screen, but we went out to Coyote Flats, where I was able to put this through its paces. Additionally, a few buddies of mine had a Jackery 300 and a 1000, so I was able to compare and contrast the features of both. Could the Bluetti be the Jackery killer? Stay tuned to the end to find out. This is the Bluetti AC50s. It's rated at 500 watt hours, is a lithium-ion battery, and has a sine wave inverter. It does not say specifically whether it's pure sine wave or modified sine wave. I understand very little about the difference. Really what you need to know though is pure sine wave is really what you want for electric motors and things that require continuous current, I guess is the best way to say it. So things like your fridge. What I will say though is I had this hooked up to my fridge all weekend and never had my fridge trip offline, so I don't know which it is, but even if it's a modified, it seemed to work just fine. As far as power output, it has two AC outlets, both rated at 300 watts, up to 450 watts of peak power. It has 4 USB-A ports, and then what's really cool about this device as well is that it has a USB-C port, so you can charge your phone and that kind of thing by plugging it directly into the device. Lastly, for outputs, it has a cigarette lighter, so that's how I connected this to my fridge all weekend. And then it has 2 DC barrel connectors as well. Now at peak, my fridge draws about 40 watts. The cigarette lighter here is rated up to 120, so really you shouldn't have any issue using the cigarette lighter here for a DC to DC connection with really any reasonably sized fridge for your car. For inputs, what's really cool is this is a built-in MPPT charger so that you can hook your solar panels straight up to the device and have regulated solar input. Additionally, as I just talked about, you have a cigarette lighter, and then they also include an AC adapter. The AC adapter is advertised to charge us in about 3 to 6 hours, whereas your DC in your car will take a little longer. So just something to keep in mind there, but you have all 3 options. Some unique features that I really like about this. So first off, on the top here, it has a wireless charging for your phone or whatever device rated at the 10 watts. So it has 2 just basic handles, and they actually retract back into the device here, so you can keep it nice and flush, taking up minimal space if you don't need to carry this around. If we take a look at the back of the device here, you'll see it has an LED, which could come in handy, especially if this thing's living in the back of your car or wherever and you just want a little bit additional light. And then the last thing to note is that the input on this is actually in the back here, so that may be preferential or a disadvantage depending on where you want this thing to live most of the time. Front here it has a pretty standard LCD screen that shows the battery life. You'll see the AC and DC inputs as well as how much power is being drawn from each, which is pretty nice. And then there are push buttons to select both the AC power and the DC power on or off individually on the inverter. Now for the equivalent Jackery, they have the Jackery Explorer 500 that's rated up to like 518 watts and retails for right around 500 bucks. Like the Bluetti, it's a lithium-ion battery. It does advertise it as being an actual pure sine wave inverter. It has 1 outlet instead of 2. However, the 1 AC outlet that it does have is rated up to 500 watts with a maximum of 1,000 watts compared to the Bluetti's 450. Now honestly, the highest power draw device you're really probably going to use this for is your fridge, which draws maybe up to 60 to 70 watts, even on the bigger models. Unless you're bringing something like a freaking Keurig in the back, which is a little bougie. Other than that, you know, 300 to 450 watts will probably cover 90% of your uses, which the Bluetti has. Additionally, the Jackery only has 3 USB-A ports instead of 4, and it does not have a USB-C port like the Bluetti does. It doesn't have an LED, doesn't have any wireless charging, and obviously the handle on the top of the Jackery is fixed. All right, so big picture, the AC50 has an additional AC outlet. It has additional USB-A outlet, has a USB-C outlet when the Jackery doesn't. It has wireless charging, a built-in LED. Oh, and by the way, it's $100 cheaper. I would say there are a ton of advantages of the Bluetti AC50 over the Jackery Explorer 500. All right, so is Bluetti the Jackery killer? Not quite. So I encountered one major issue with the Bluetti, at least the AC50 model here, which was a total showstopper and will unfortunately be the reason for me returning it back to Bluetti. So when the Jeep was off and I plugged the Bluetti in via the cigarette lighter, the wattage would start at 0, would slowly count its way up to about 60 to 70 watts, and then drop back down to 0. It would stay at 0 for about 10-15 seconds and then start counting up again, repeating this cycle. So the issue with this is that since I don't have solar, at least yet, when the Jeep is off, rely on my battery, which is a high capacity AGM battery, in order to charge the Bluetti and then run my fridge. Well, with the Bluetti power cycling half the time, the fridge actually ended up discharging the Bluetti instead of, or faster rather than the Jeep could charge it. Just to be sure, I plugged this into the Jeep Noob's Jeep on the rear cigarette lighter and noticed the exact same thing. Now, as soon as I started the Jeep, this issue went away and it would jump up to about 100 watts steady charge. But again, I can't always charge it that way, and I need this feature to work as intended. So for me, this will be the reason why I'm unfortunately going to return the AC50s. I love all the features about it. It is possible that maybe it's something weird with Jeeps, but again, I did test this with 2 different Jeeps in the exact same socket with the exact same cigarette lighter. His was a JL, by the way, mine's a JK, and we experienced the exact same thing. When we plugged the Jackery into these same outlet ports using the same 12-volt cigarette lighter, we didn't have this issue, and it charged just fine when both Jeeps were off. On paper, the AC50s here I think is a much better buy than the Jackery Explorer 500. And while I could use the AC adapter to charge this when my vehicle is off, it just seems like a waste of battery to go from DC to AC and then back to DC again. If you have solar on your vehicle, then this is absolutely a no-brainer. And anytime your vehicle is off, well, then you just plug it into the solar panels and you have no issues. But again, I don't yet, and I need this thing to be excellent at the basics. I'd be really curious to know if any of you out there that have the AC50s or really any Bluetti model have had the same issues that I had with the cigarette lighter charging port, specifically when the vehicle's off. If you have, please drop me a line in the comment section below. Again, that'd be great info. For all I know, this is probably just a Jeep thing and add it to the list of 1,000 other things that Jeep seems to have a problem with that other vehicles don't, but you know, you gotta love her. If you guys found this video helpful, please hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't before, and hit the bell for notifications of future uploads. Other than that, I'm Kevin with Rhino Off-Road, and we'll see you on the next one.